All right, I wanted to go ahead and thank everybody for joining us. Colin, can you hear me? So make
Loud
sure
and
that
clear.
mic check going on here. All right, cool. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Beverly. I am one of the owners here at Silverleaf Practice Management Solutions, and we help nurse practitioners get their private practices set up. We help other provider specialties as well, but nurse practitioners is primarily our main focus. And today we have Colin Hickey from Accessibe joining us for a webinar. And he is going to be going over, first of all, he is the partner success manager over at Accessibe, very knowledgeable guy about all of this stuff, very impressive with what Accessibe actually does. So he's going to tell us all about it, why you should be using it in your private practice, and all that. So most of the conversation is going to be on his side, telling us all about this cool stuff. But we will have a question and answer session at the end. And so if there is a little button down at the bottom of your toolbar that said Q&A, if you want to start putting questions in there as they pop in, we'll start covering those at the end of the session, but we'll hold all those till then. Um, Colin, so I'll just let you take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you, Beverly. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Fantastic. So for starters, we're going to go over as to what the ADA means with regards to website accessibility, some of the benefits that come with making your site accessible, and some of the tactical nuances that come along with that. But for starters, when a website is accessible, it's easier for everyone to be able to navigate the website, resulting in a better user experience and increasing engagement throughout your website. You'll see improved brand reputation, customer loyalty, because it's going to showcase that you value inclusion. What this does is it'll create a bit of a domino effect. By making your site accessible, it'll increase SEO, it'll increase the foot traffic, which helps to increase customers, which we all know, which will help to ideally increase the revenue stream. So getting into the weeds a little bit here as to what it means to make a website compliant. For starters, there are some differences between the law and what the actual standard is. While the ADA does state that websites are places of public accommodation and that they need to be accessible and compliant, it doesn't necessarily specify as to what the criteria is in itself. That's where the WCAG comes into place. The WCAG is a 1,000-page guidebook explaining what accessible sites look and operate like to people with disabilities. Mind you, that makes up 20% or so of the population. Some of the disabilities that are covered, blind people utilizing screen readers, the motor impaired, using only keyboard to navigate, epilepsy, color blindness, cognitive and learning disabilities, as well as visual impairments. Da, 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 the ADA compliance lawsuits have been on a steep rise every year, hundreds of thousands of lawsuits and demand letters targeting businesses of all sizes. So it doesn't matter if it's an enterprise, a mid-market, or a quote-unquote mom and pop. This trend really began to skyrocket back in 2018 when the DOJ affirmed that websites are places of public accommodation. So this is a great chart, and I'm going to go through starting with on the right, and we're going to make our way over to our solution. So this is just a visual aid to demonstrate the various services that are already out there. On the right-hand side, you'll see, there are accessibility add-ons. They're very cheap, or sometimes they're free. The issue with this is it only makes UI adjustments. And what I mean by that is adjusting the colors, the fonts, minor modifications that can be made. And it doesn't integrate with screen reader. It doesn't allow the keyboard navigation. And that's really the bulk from a compliance standpoint. There's also manual services, and I'll be the first to tell you they are effective, but there's a caveat to it, meaning it's very expensive, tends to cost up to tens of thousands of dollars. And it's very labor intensive, can take weeks up to months, depending on how dynamic the site is. And once that website is remediated from a compliance standpoint, any changes that are made in the future, you're also going to have to make those compliance changes as well. And that's kind of where we come in. Our widget is not just going to make those adjustments, which you can from a UI standpoint, but it's also going to bring in the capabilities utilizing a screen reader, navigating the website through keyboard navigation. Um, and this is us just kind of showcasing some of the clientele that we have. It's very important to note that it doesn't matter. We have a wide array of packages, and the packages that come with the licenses are simply just based on how small or large the website is. Whatever the case may be, we provide litigation support for all these packages, which is unmatched by any other product or service. And it provides a set of materials such as suggested responses to lawyers, compliance score using various different testing tools, and lastly, a master's failures request, which proves compliance. This service is supported by our legal and R&D teams, which is included with all of our plans, and there to support you along the way. Again, each widget, no matter what plan it is, it's going to have an accessibility statement. Essentially, it's a legal requirement and it's comprehensive and uniform, and explaining the adjustments that being made to the site, which helps to ward off some of these quote unquote Saul Goodmans of the world. The statement is reinforced by a monthly compliance audit, which is emailed directly to your inbox. This audit can be downloaded or shared as proof as to maintaining accessibility efforts, excuse me. And if you'd like, I can go ahead and jump into the widget, and that way we can go ahead and get a feel for some of the feature and functionality. So let me go ahead, reset these settings. So this is a demo site, as you can
One thing I didn't
see.
see on there,
Sure.
one thing I didn't see, Colin, was the ADHD the other day when we talked about that. It's kind of interesting that they put the ADHD stuff there as well. So I'm sorry for interrupting. I just saw that
No, no,
when it popped up there. I was like, wow, didn't really think about the ADHD being considered a disability. I mean, we know the ones like the visually impaired, hearing impaired, those type of disabilities, but we don't think about you know other things, seizures even. I didn't think about needing some kind of accessible website stuff for seizure disorders. So I think that's very interesting that that the product does that. So continue on. I just wanted to stop there for a
no.
second because I saw that.
It's a perfect segue, and I'm glad you brought that up. You teed me up perfectly. So this is out of the box how the widget will look on your website. It's important to note too, there are customizations you can make along the way. Sometimes some of our clients prefer to have the widget in itself at the footer, but a lot of the times they want it to be apparent for those that are disabled, So out of the box, a widget, you can put it in the bottom left or right-hand corner. But moving forward, as I said before, each widget will come with this comprehensive accessibility statement. It's very dense, but it's for a good reason. It's going to showcase and explain basically to the letter of the law as to how and why this said website is in fact compliant. So it's essentially the first line of defense. But moving forward with some of the capabilities with regarding this widget. So as you can see here, there are some preset profiles put in place. What they will do is they will accommodate the specific needs and wants for that particular individual. For instance, as Beverly noted, we have a seizure state profile, right? So by enabling this, you could see beforehand there was a moving video that has now stopped. So it'll stop any moving video or GIFs. It'll also, as you can see, lower the saturation, right? So those that are prone to seizures or epileptic, they can go ahead and enable this, and they can go ahead and navigate and peruse through your website with ease. As Beverly also mentioned, we have the ADHD profile, right? So allowing those users that are ADHD helping them to narrow down their focus and being able to kind of go through in the limited span, navigating the website in itself. Moving along, these are some of the individual adjustments that the user can make, right? So I always use the example of, whenever, around the holidays when I go home and I'm sitting next to my grandma, you know, if she's on her phone, I always notice that she has like 3 words and they're super enlarged, right? So point being is you can do the same thing with our widget, right? So with these individual adjustments you can make along the way, you can go ahead and increase the scaling of the site in itself. You can increase the font sizing, so on and so forth. Just go ahead and reset these settings. Next thing I wanted to dive into is from a contrast perspective. A lot of times with these demand letters and lawsuits, I'd say 50% of the time are due to the contrast not being correlated correctly. Thus, by utilization of our widget, you're able to make those proper adjustments so that you're in fact are quote unquote compliant. Next up, with regards to color blindness, it's not a one size fits all. There's a lot of variance to that. And because of that, we equip the users to go ahead and make those appropriate adjustments along the way, right? So whichever colors don't, they're not able to easily notice, they're able to make those adjustments that are pertinent to them. So just in short, there are 70 individual modifications a user can make. Now, what I really want to hone in on is what I brought up in the beginning, is with regards to those that are blind utilizing screen readers and keyboard navigation. So once the widget is deployed on your website, we say it takes up to 48 hours. I rarely see it take that long, but sometimes it can if it's a large site with a lot of pages and very dynamic. In any case, after 48 hours, we have an AI engine. And what that's going to do is it's going to automatically apply alt tags. Alt tags are a great way for those that are blind. Essentially what it is, it's giving a description through each picture, each what do you call it, banner, anything throughout the site. They're going to be able to hit tab, and it's going to let the user know that it's screen reader compatible, and they can hit tab, and it's going to let them know as they peruse through the site, whichever icon that they're on. And to showcase this, bear with me, I'm just going to reset these settings. So what I'm going to do is I disabled our widget, and I'm just going to simply inspect a few of these icons in pictures on this page. So it's not enabled. And what I want to show you here is, as you can see, there's no description that's going to be read out to the blind user. So I have a MacBook, and I'm just going to enable the widget with regard to screen reading. So for a MacBook, they're going to hit option 1. If it's a PC, you're simply just going to hit alt 1. You're going to hear that magical ring, and you can see, let's go down here, it inspected the same one, but after enabling it, you can see now that there is a description, vase filled with flowers, and also incorporating that there's a sale for 30% off. Just to give another example, right? If you don't have alt tags properly applied throughout the site that gives these descriptions, things like a rating system, it's just gonna, a lot of times it doesn't say anything, or if it does, it just says stars. So blind users not going to understand the context to it. So in this example, you're going to see a 5 out of 5 rating, excuse me. So again, just to reiterate, when a blind user goes on your website and once the widget is installed, they're going to be notified, and then they're going to hit tab throughout the site. And actually, it's a great segue to showcase our keyboard navigation. One point of emphasis too, you might find yourself asking or saying to yourself, Colin, I can hit tab on my site now and I'm able to, more or less navigate. And that is true. But when it comes to, navigating through things like drop downs, it's very difficult to do. And as you can see here, there's no hiccups whatsoever. Also with regards to pop-ups, users. For instance, in my case, if I want 5 linen sofas, I can make those appropriate adjustments, or I can simply just exit. The point of emphasis I'm really just trying to drive home is, as you can see, there's no stalling, there's no wavering with regards to, as I keep hitting tab, it's going to effectively and easily peruse throughout the site. Last point of emphasis too, as if it's a blind user that's hitting tab throughout the site, if you don't have alt text appropriately applied throughout the site, things at the bottom hand corner right here, it's just going to say new window, new window, new window. But with our widget, it's going to let the user know new window for Facebook pop-up, new window for Twitter pop-up. So again, just appropriately applying the necessary descriptions that are needed for users to effectively navigate your website. So with all this being said, I kind of went through that a little quicker than I imagined, but I would like to utilize this time for any questions that you guys may have, and let's have at it.
Hey, Colin, can you give us some examples of I don't say case studies because that's not really a word I'm looking for, but some examples of litigation that's happened with people that have, filed lawsuits against webinars. I'm not trying to be fear mongering, but it is important that the, providers understand that this is legitimate. Somebody could sue you because your website is not ADA compliant, which sounds a little crazy to me. Like that's, a lot, especially for a solo provider, having to think about, oh my gosh, now my website needs to be compliant. One more thing I have to pay for or whatever, or worry about. So, and I don't know, I'd have to check like malpractice and like business liability insurances, but I don't know if it covers that kind of stuff. So can you just give us some examples of if you have some of what, these lawsuits can look like?
Yes. So thank you for that question, Beverly. So with regards to, people getting hit with demand letters and lawsuits, right? So the fact of the matter is by us being in the United States, no one can stop someone effectively from filing a demand letter lawsuit. But what we can do is point out the illegitimate reasons as to if a demand letter lawsuit is received, right? So a lot of times, it's an unfortunate, but most times if if manual remediation is not in place or a widget's not in place, people settle out of court, and the average cost for that settlement is between $20,000 and $30,000, right? And so what we do is we create lines of defense. The first line of defense would be sending them the accessibility statement, right? The second line of defense would then be to request a master's failures request. And what that basically means is it puts the onus on the person that's suing. And what I mean by that is demand letters, a lot of times they're not specific, right? They're shooting from the hip, and it's not pertinent to exactly that specific website.
Mm-hmm.
Lawsuits are more specific. And so what we will do is we will request a master's failures request. No, it's a little redundant there, but what that will do is it'll make them and force them to pinpoint areas as to what they say is quote unquote non-compliant. And now through that, we will be able to counteract that, showcasing that it is indeed in fact compliant. And what I mean by that is we have user testing, right? So we can provide people that that do have disabilities. We can record them perusing through the site. And I always say it's my go-to line of, judges don't necessarily know JavaScript, but they certainly know testimonial. So that's
Right.
just a quick look into some of the layers of defense that we provide. And a cherry on top, through the litigation support, all of our clients that have utilized this, there has never been a single successful lawsuit. So that's something that
Awesome.
we definitely wear as a badge of honor for sure.
Okay. So you guys, if there's any questions in the pen from the attendees, you can go to that little Q&A down there and type those in, and I'll have Colin answer them for you all.
And as we wait for some of these questions to populate. So through this webinar, it's important to note that we are giving or providing Beverly and I a 30-day or a month window that if you sign up through our plan, we are going to give you guys a 15% discount. So it's just food for thought along the way. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to help in any way.
All right, so we have one from Vipul Devani. Says, never heard before. Is this required for any site?
Great question, and it's required for every site, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a pizzeria or if it's, HBO. It's unfortunate. Most of the lawsuits that happen, these lawyers actually target some of the smaller businesses because they know they're making a good guess that a lot of times they're not going to have anything in place. So to simply answer your question, every site that's on the internet is going to have to be compliant. Yeah.
And then Ruslan texted in, and Ruslan, we're going to give this, you're going to get this in an email actually from us after the webinar, that he asked if there was a link to the website. But yeah, you're
Yep.
going to get that and you can go in and check it all out as well.
Yep. So
You're welcome, Ruslan.
as we wrap up, we're gonna send everyone a follow-up email, as Beverly just said. We're gonna put in some resources, some white papers, some literature, so that way you can use as a resource moving forward as you talk about it amongst yourselves internally. We're also gonna have a link in there, and it's also very important. The 15% discount can only be applied if you click on the link in itself, right? So if you and we're happy for you to go on our main page, but if you're signing up your site, please click on that link, because that's the way where we can actually apply the 15% discount. Another
Any
important
other
note too,
questions?
is it's our widget is very light in the sense of it's not going to impede or hinder site speed of performance, right? So it's session based. So any changes that are made, it's only going to be made for that particular user that's on your website. So just
Yeah,
last
and
tidbit.
I like the fact that, yeah, I like the fact that you guys monitor it every month. And I have it. Silverleaf has it on their website. It's just a little icon down on the bottom, just kind of hanging out. Don't really see it, unless you click on it or whatever. But I get that report every month. It is very useful for me to know that everything is compliant and I'm good to go. Um, so that's just, that little, if there's any changes also to the website, right? Because I think
Yes.
most people that have websites are doing changes here and there, updating this, updating that, and there's nothing that I have to worry about. Accessibe just takes care of that for me. So I really like that. So you don't have to go back and pay your web designer to, fix
Yeah.
this or that. Accessibe is just kind of monitoring and making those changes, in the background for you. Rosalind asked if there's it's a monthly service or a one-time setup for compliance. How does that work?
Great question, and an important one, right? So you have the option, right? So you can pay annually, or you have the option of paying monthly. So the choice is entirely up to you. And Beverly, back to your initial point of with regards to those monthly compliance reports, they're going to be sent out monthly, right? And so it's a great way to, right? So if any changes or modifications are made to the site, it's actually a great way to kind of just to showcase if our proof's in the pudding, right? So you can do a little bit of a before and after comparison, right? As
Hmm.
to before deploying Accessibe and then after, which of seeing as to the extent line by line within the code as to, oh, this is in fact compliant for the various reasons.
Right. Yeah. I realize that I didn't, I mean, I've been doing setting up private practices for 4 years now, for almost 5 years now. Didn't even know this existed. So far off my radar, which I mean is unfortunate, right? We should be having this front and center to help these, types of patients out navigate the world, because I'm sure it's a lot more difficult for them to navigate things. And you don't think of something quite as simple as a website, right? You just
Yeah.
assume that everybody can use whatever accessible devices that they have on their computer or whatever to navigate the digital world, and that's not so. So it's really something interesting to me, that a product like this is available and it will keep you in compliance, because I don't know about y'all, but I like my money. I don't want to give it back to anybody, for anything that could be solved simply, for this. Colin, there's different packages and stuff, right, that you guys have. And I didn't want to make this a salesy webinar for sure. We kind of wanted to make sure we had all the questions answered and stuff, and then kind of talk about price at the end. So if nobody has any other questions, I'll go ahead and let Colin get into kind of the price ranges and stuff. Unless you have anything else, Colin, you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, I just noticed that there are a few more questions here. Vipul, with regards to you
Oh, did
checked
we get some more?
some
Oh,
of
we did. Okay, sorry.
some of the heavy hitters, right? Google, Amazon, Yahoo. And you don't notice a widget on their site, right? I'm glad you asked this question. Some of these, these larger companies, they are in fact they're remediating their sites to make sure that they're compliant, but they're doing it through manual remediation. So a lot of these big companies, they have specific teams that literally only focus on this, right? So what we are focusing on through our widget is, hey, I have like, 5 to 10 employees or maybe a few hundred. We don't have enough to deploy a full team to go through a manual remediate. So what we do and what we provide is finding that sweet spot for bringing your site up to compliance, but at a fair price. And then I see another question with regard to GDPR. Yes,
Yeah.
so we are in fact, compliant and in lockstep with regards to GDPR for our folks over across the pond.
And then the last one is when did this compliance stuff start?
Yep. So great question again. So this all started, it was a domino effect back in 2018. So there was a lawsuit that was filed from a blind user that wasn't able to properly navigate Domino's Pizza, their website. And this case actually went all the way up to the Supreme
Interesting.
Court. And it was then where that golden line I keep going back to of that was when the Supreme Court stated that websites are in fact places of public accommodation and need to be treated accordingly.
Interesting. Yeah, and it makes
Uh,
sense, right? Like, and again, I think there's just going to be a lot of people out there that just don't know, that this is
mhm.
something that they should be looking at. And then, like Paul said, it's very interesting that when you look at these other websites, you don't see that, but it makes sense, right? These companies have lots of money and that they can go in and just have their whole IT
Yeah,
team. Their IT team is on top of this, making sure that their stuff is done, versus the smaller user don't have an IT team to hop in and do, remediate this stuff on a daily. So that's where
yeah.
this product would come into play there. And then let's see. Yeah, so it looks like we have checked. Do you see anything else, Colin? I had a little bit of a lag a while ago, and when you said
GDPR
that, do
and
you see anything else on your side?
nope. I'll
Okay.
hop into the pricing and then I'll just keep a watchful eye if any other questions
Okay.
do pop up. So it's important to note, Beverly, can you see the screen that I changed to the pricing one?
I cannot. I just see
Oh,
you.
oh, that would be because I stopped screen share.
That's helpful.
Okay, glad I asked. Okay, so it's important to note that this is a retail pricing, right? So we're gonna, if when you guys sign up, providing a 15% discount, right? So this would be chopped this 490 would come out to roughly $416 a year. Or again, you can opt to utilize the paying monthly, right? So that would be $41 a month. And there are two factors that go into our pricing, right? The main one is just simply page count, right? So how many pages does your website contain, right? So as you can see here, 1,000 or less would be standard. In between 10,000 and 1,000 would be advanced, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think
The other,
most of our users are going to fall in that 400, that
yeah,
standard
that's
range.
what I
So
figured.
usually like 5 to 10 pages, if that. So,
Yeah.
and so the monthly price on that would be like 40-ish, $40 a month.
Yep. With a 15% discount, it'd be like $41 a month. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, no,
It just
no.
looks
That
it
was
looks a little less intimidating when you see the month, the monthly price versus, oh my gosh, that's, all at once. There's a question, Colin, that says, do you give legal help or support for legal cases?
Yep. So with regards to in that unfortunate circumstance, if you were to get a demand letter or lawsuit and you have our widget deployed on your website, as I was mentioning before, and I'll also we'll send it out through our follow-up email, and it'll go in depth as to what our litigation support means. But the first line of defense is we're going to send the accessibility statement. We're going to ask request for a master's failures request, which basically puts the onus on whoever is suing as to you need to go into detail as to why you say, quote unquote, our website is not compliant. And from there, we don't specifically provide legal advice, but what we do is we have our own lawyers, and we would be in tandem during this situation and providing the facts as to why, in fact, your website is compliant.
And all of the packages I see up there in the corner says all the plans
Yep.
include your litigation support package. Okay, so let's see, the next one is, what if we have a disclaimer on the site that this website is not as per the guideline? Like some facilities, they may not have access for wheelchairs. Can you do something like that, or is that against,
That's a good question. So from my understanding, every it's not even from my understanding, I know for a fact every website can get hit with a lawsuit if they do not have our widget, or they have some sort of manual remediation from compliance standpoint. Again, going back to my initial thought or my note was a lot of these lawsuits, they're not going after, the Googles or the IBMs of the world. They're going after people and businesses where they know that maybe they're completely unaware of it.
Mhm.
So those more like mid-sized, smaller companies, they're hitting them hard. But I don't want to favor monger too much. I wanted to wrap up with we have numerous lines of defense, and we'll squash any litigation, and kind of going back to our cherry on top of there hasn't been a single successful case, nor have they ever settled through the utilization of our litigation support.
Well, I guess if you were going to have a disclaimer like that on your website, you better make sure that disclaimer is at least readable by tabbing or whatever. I mean, because if they're, if they are visually impaired and then you have this just written disclaimer there, they're not going to see that. So you just have to make sure that I don't know. This is way outside my scope because I'm a nurse, and I don't, as far as building websites and what it needs to look like. I mean, I know how to build a website, but it's just that trying to make that disclaimer or whatever readable and compliant, I would be a little nervous about that, that it's available for everybody.
Uh,
Good question, though, Nicole. That's a good question.
Vipul, I saw that you raised your hand. Did you want to voice over a question, or here, I'll allow you to talk there? Vipul, the floor is yours. I just enabled the voice for you. If you don't have any
Hello.
questions, no worries.
Yeah, there you are. Hi, Vipul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had the same question because I was checking some of the clinic around me and their website. This is unheard. This is out of nowhere. So I was
Yeah.
wondering, like, to prevent us, because having a small practice working by yourself, trying to count every single penny, right?
Yeah, I
So
agree.
again, as you said, Beverly, like, another $500 we have to spend where we are trying to save a penny. So if we just put the disclaimer in audible form or in the visual, that we are not meeting the guideline, right? Just this is what it
Yeah.
is.
Well, and I think that's, that is your option to do that. We just wanted to bring awareness to it that this is being seen, that this is a thing. You can choose
Mhm.
not to adopt it. That is completely up to you. But just know that all it takes is one person, to find,
Absolutely.
we get, especially in, most of our providers are psych. I'm not sure what your specialty is, the pool, but
I'm psych
um,
as well.
yeah, and so my boyfriend's practice has been open for almost 5 years, and you get those patients just get mad at you about whatever it is, and I'm not, again, not trying to fearmonger, and we've not had anybody that has tried anything with ADA, but they'll just put, reviews online about your practice and all this stuff,
Mhm.
and $20,000, $30,000, that's a lot of money when you're talking in the grand scheme of things versus if $40 a month, to cover that. I don't know what the answer is there, but it is your practice and you can choose how you want to do that. I thought that everybody needs to have awareness of this, whether you buy
No,
the product or you do
absolutely.
some
No,
kind of manual thing. I don't wouldn't want to get hit, blindsided by that because when I found out about it, I was like, oh my gosh, we've been setting up people's websites. I didn't even know this was a thing. And then is Silverleaf compliant? And we weren't either. So we put it on our website. And I think, the more this gets out there, you're going to start seeing it more and more on folks' websites. But definitely just wanted to bring the awareness to the group that this is a thing, that you should be kind of thinking about. And maybe not today. Maybe you wait until things get busier, right? And you're like, I think I can do the $40 a month now or whatever. Um, and if not, that's okay too. But at least maybe even go out and do the manual stuff, right? Do some research on those little manual things or the apps or whatever that you could potentially add to your website to at least give you some coverage where you're not just completely vulnerable and not have anything on there.
no, this is actually, you're absolutely right. And I really appreciate your effort because
Yeah,
we are in the healthcare field and we have I at least have a zero knowledge about this kind of technicality.
right.
Right.
I agree.
So that's a
I get
great thing.
Yeah, I get questions all the time about should my office be ADA compliant? And I'm like, well, you're not doing people's taxes. You're not doing things that you may or may not get patients with disabilities. You're in healthcare, and especially if you were taking care of the Medicare population, Medicaid population, where you're going to have bigger clients like that do have more disabilities, you should have ADA compliance at least to your office. And some people don't even know what that looks like as far as wider doorways, making sure you have elevators, there's ramps, all of that. So this is just another layer of that being ADA compliant for your patients. So,
And
so they're all
Beverly,
great questions. Yeah.
and Ruby, I see you have your hand raised too. I'll go to you next. But just to add to it, with regards to, I'm sure you saw, I didn't realize my email was showing there, but and I'll send over with our follow-up email the study that with regards to healthcare facilities, a study from Deloitte that noted that I think it said 51% of all patients go on the particular website, the practitioner's website, before going in person, right? So you're dealing with a little more than half of these people potentially going on your website beforehand. And if, God forbid, a blind user or whatever the plethora of disabilities are out there, in no world would we want to hinder any kind of foot traffic or impede on business or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that's just the last point with that. I don't want to go over too much, but Ruby, I see you have your
One thing I
hand
wanted
raised.
to add on there before Ruby is able to get in there, is that
Sure.
with me, I was even shocked when I saw the ADHD thing because I was like, wait, ADHD is considered a disability of sorts.
Yeah.
So and everybody, and I'm not making light of it, guys, because I'm pretty sure I have ADHD too, and half of my family does. But it's like, okay, well, everybody has ADHD nowadays, and if that gives them some kind of wiggle room there to be included in the disability stuff, that opens up a lot of patients that are coming to your practice. And if your family practice, obviously you're going to have seizures and the other normal disabilities that we think about, sight, hearing, visually, sight and visually, that's the same thing. But you get what I'm saying. You have these disabilities that you don't really think about, that are also included in this, that could increase your risk. So go ahead, Ruby.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Miss Beverly. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for at least bringing this to our attention.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add on that, like seriously, it just takes that one crazy person, and we all have. We never know when they show
Yeah.
up. They may just get mad and just take it out on you. So I really
Right.
appreciate this. My question was, is this like, if we sign up, are we locking up in the price, or is this something that we expect for it to go up? Because obviously a lot of people don't really know about this. But is this
Right.
something, the price, is it locked in, or, I mean, do we expect it to go up?
That's a
No,
good question for you, Colin.
it's a great, important, and valid question. So the price will not go up. It'll stay locked in. for the offer that we have provided at the 15%. So if you were to go ahead and install our widget on your site today, and then a year from today, it's about to renew, you're going to get it at the same price that we initially offered.
Probably
I wanted
that, yeah. Yeah, true. You want to lock those in. The only caveat to that, and Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if they lapse, right? So if you say, oh, this month, or I can't afford this right now, I'll jump back in a few months. You jump back in, that price may have increased then, and you're subject then to the new price.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't I don't want to, kind of throw that much fear at it, but it's even if you were to be paying, the only thing would be like in that scenario, Beverly, let's say you purchase our widget, you go on the monthly plan, and then after 6 months, you no longer want it for whatever reason, and then a year down the road, the price is still going to be the same, but you're probably not going to get the 15% discount. So just, letting you know there.
Okay. Yeah, I always tell people, prices are always subject to change, always, because inflation, whatever, so you do have, that to just consider. Things always tend to go up at some point. Shah said that he's my in-house web guy. Those of you that have your website built by us, you guys know Shah, but we did do some research in-house on this, because when we found out about it, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And we need to know. So we were searching around and stuff, and for the price and for the ease of the use of getting it set up, that's why we pulled Accessibe in and had them do this webinar, because we wanted to give the best value for our clients, because we do take in consideration your financial status. Nurse practitioners can't walk into a bank like physicians can and get a big capital loan to open up their private practice, but also every penny counts, right? Just like Lapul said, every penny counts. And to be able to find a cost-effective solution that's easy to launch, that offers the options, that's why we have Accessibe here.
And furthermore, too, I keep going back to the follow-up email we're going to send. There'll be a link in there. That way, as you guys are making that deciding factor whether to implement our widget on your site, you can go ahead. I mean, the installation guidelines are very simple and easy, but I can understand. It's like, Colin, well, you work there. I can understand why you say that. In any case, there'll be a link in there where you can utilize or go through my Calendly, and you can schedule some time, and I'd be more than happy to showcase the few steps that are needed to go ahead and get this on your site.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. And if we're setting up your website, or if we have set up your website or are currently doing it, let us know, and my web folks will take care of that for you, while we're getting everything set up for you. And then Ruby said, do we have his email address? My site's not up yet, sometime the end of the month, but I'm interested. Yeah, Ruby, you're going to get an email, and it's going to have the link to purchase, and then you've got going to have Colin's link to schedule time with him, and all of that information will be in there for you.
I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
Don't
Anybody else
with any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else? Well, we've done a little bit early if nobody has any other questions. And this recording will be available to you guys as well, so you can go back and listen if you need to. I know sometimes it's if you're multitasking, sometimes you might have missed something, or needed to go back through something. So you will get a recording of this, and I think we had a couple people that might have joined a little bit later, so you can get the first part of it. And you can always reach out to questions too. Like Ruby, does Ruby you still have? I think Ruby put her hand up again. Ruby, do you have more? Or is your hand still up?
I think it just stayed there from the initial one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest when it comes to all these little things that Zoom has available when you start doing these webinars. That's okay. So I'm like, wait, somebody's got their hand up. What are we doing? Yeah, so just you can always reach out to us too. I think most of you guys are probably in the Facebook group, so you can always reach out to us if you can't find the email or whatever. Expect the email probably to go out in the next 24 hours, because this is recording and we have to get the link for the webinar and put it in the email and all of that. So you won't get it immediately, but check your junk mail, because sometimes that's where it goes. But usually within the next 24, 48 hours, we'll have that out to you guys. And if for some reason you don't see it, I think most of you have my contact information as well. You can reach out to me and I'll make sure that it gets sent over to you. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. Oh, hold on a second. Can I send this to someone else who has a different business or private practice? Absolutely. You can share that link with them. and get that. Now, only the attendees, unless Colin does something different, are getting that 15% off. But you know, I'm sure that they'll work with you over there at Accessibe. But yeah, you'll get the link and all that. You can send that out.
Yes.
Anybody else?
So I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
probably just to reiterate, yeah, please, once you get the follow-up email, which will have the link for the video, please, we actually implore feel free to share that video along. You know, try to make, you know, the world one site accessible at a time. It's my go-to line.
Yeah, and we'll have the link. Yeah, there you go. That's a great little slogan there. I'm going to post it up on the Facebook group too. The video will be there for folks to view, because I think we had like 50 people say they wanted to come to this webinar, and I know it's in the middle of the day. We're all on different time zones and all of that, so I just want to make sure that everybody had it available. Just, you know, for nothing else, even if you don't sign up with Accessibe, just to have the information, know that's something that you just at least need to keep on your radar with your practices. So. All right, well, Colin, thank you so much for oh, somebody said, can I get a discount if I refer other businesses? Talk to Colin. He'll get you
Yeah,
lined out over there.
let's table that for offline. But yeah, please, I implore everyone to feel free. Don't be a stranger. Once you get that email, please feel free to respond, and we'll act accordingly. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Everybody said thank you for everything. Thank you for the knowledge. Thanks for having the webinar. So you guys are very welcome. We're going to try to do more of these, just bring more awareness. We've got some coaching, Christina Dynamite in the next month or so, going to do some coaching with her. If there's anything that you guys would like to see, any, people that you would like to get more information from, please feel free to email me and I'll reach out to different folks. And we're just going to try to just keep the education coming. So Colin is the very first really webinar that we have had from Silverleaf. We did one with Spruce not too long ago, but that was on Spruce's side. But we're going to start bringing in more folks so that you guys can stay informed and on top of things. So, all right, everybody, y'all have a great day and let us know if there's anything we can help you with. Okay. Thank you so much, Colin, for doing this, and we'll be talking soon. Okay.
Thank you for
all right.
everyone
Bye-bye.
for joining. Bye now.
Bye-bye.